The alarm came without warning. One moment, Danny Cole was checking the pressure valves in the engine room. The next moment, red lights were flashing everywhere and the ship was shaking, like it was about to break apart. He grabbed the nearest pipe and held on tight. Through the small window, he saw something that made his blood run cold. A massive ship was approaching them. It was dark purple, shaped like a curved blade, and it was at least 10 times bigger than their cargo vessel, the Valkyrie. He had heard stories about them. Every human who traveled through this part of space had heard the stories. They were conquerors. They took what they wanted and destroyed what they did not need. Danny ran toward the main deck. His boots made heavy sounds against the metal floor. Other crew members were running too, their faces full of fear. He found Kira Simmons near the communication station. She was young, maybe late 20s, with short brown hair and worried eyes. "They're not responding to our signals," she said. Her voice was shaking. "They're just coming closer." Captain Lewis stood at the center of the deck. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been flying cargo ships for 30 years, and Danny could see that even he was scared. "Everyone stay calm," the captain said. "Maybe they just want to check our cargo. Maybe they'll let us go." But Danny knew better. The Valkyrie did not let anyone go. The enemy ship connected to theirs with a loud metal sound. The whole vessel shook again. Then came the sound of cutting tools breaking through their hull. The Valkyrie were coming in. The first aliens stepped through the hole in the wall. Danny had never seen a Valkyrie in person before. They were tall, almost 7 feet, with gray skin that looked like stone. Their eyes were completely black, like deep holes. They wore armor that seemed to grow from their bodies, and they carried weapons that hummed with strange energy. More of them came through. 10, 20, 30. They surrounded the human crew without saying a word. Their movements were perfect, like they had done this 1,000 times before. One Valkyrie stepped forward. He was bigger than the others, and his armor had golden marks on it. This was their commander. He looked at the humans the way a person might look at insects. "I am Commander Threll," he said. His voice was deep and cold. "Your ship now belongs to the Valkyrie Empire. Your lives now belong to us." Captain Lewis stepped forward. "We're just a cargo ship. We have nothing valuable. Please, let my crew go." Commander Threll made a sound that might have been a laugh. "You are the cargo now. Humans make useful workers. You will serve in our mining colonies until you are no longer useful." Danny felt anger rising in his chest, but he forced himself to stay quiet. Fighting now would only get everyone killed. The Valkyrie soldiers began separating the crew. They pushed and pulled the humans like they were moving boxes, not people. Danny watched as friends he had worked with for years were taken in different directions. Some were crying, some were praying, some just stared at nothing, too shocked to feel anything. A Valkyrie soldier grabbed Danny's arm and pushed him toward a smaller group. Kira was there too. So were 3 other crew members. 5 humans in total, being led away from everyone else. "Where are you taking us?" Danny asked. The soldier did not answer. He just pushed Danny harder. They were taken through a long tunnel that connected the 2 ships. The Valkyrie vessel was nothing like the human ship. Everything was dark and cold. The walls seemed to breathe, covered in some kind of living material. Strange lights glowed in the ceiling, casting shadows that moved on their own. Finally, they reached a large room. It was a holding area, Danny realized. A prison. The walls were made of some kind of energy field that hummed quietly. The floor was hard and uncomfortable. The Valkyrie threw them inside and walked away without a word. Kira sat down against the wall. "What's going to happen to us?" Danny sat next to her. "I don't know, but we need to stay calm. We need to watch and learn. That's how we survive." Hours passed, maybe days. It was hard to tell time in the alien ship. Sometimes Velthari soldiers would walk past their cell and stare at them. They talked to each other in their own language, and Danny tried to listen. He tried to pick up words, patterns, anything useful. He noticed things. The way the soldiers moved. The way they spoke to each other. There was no friendship between them. No warmth. Everything was about rank and power. The stronger ones gave orders. The weaker ones obeyed without question. There was no kindness in their world. But Danny noticed something else too. Through the energy walls, he could see a long hallway. And sometimes he saw other Velthari passing by. Not soldiers, civilians, families. He saw children with the same gray skin and black eyes, holding on to their parents. He saw old ones walking slowly, their bodies bent with age. This was not just a warship. This was a colony ship. These aliens were not just warriors. They were people moving to a new home. One day, Commander Thrall came to visit the prisoners. He stood outside their cell with his arms crossed. "You will work," he said. "You will maintain our machines. Humans are weak, but you are good with tools. Your small hands can reach places ours cannot." Danny stood up, and if we refuse, Thrall's black eyes showed no emotion. "Then you will die, and we will find other humans. There are always more." He walked away, and Danny sat back down. Kira was looking at him. "Don't make them angry," she whispered. "Please." Danny nodded, but his mind was already working. He had been watching the ship carefully. He had noticed things the Velthari had not noticed. Small things. Important things. The air on this ship was not right. There was a leak somewhere. The oxygen levels were slowly dropping. The Velthari did not seem to know. Their engineers had missed it. Danny said nothing. He kept this knowledge to himself and waited. He did not know what he would do with this information, but he knew that someday it might matter. For now, he would watch, he would learn, and he would wait for his moment. Outside the cell, the Velthari ship flew deeper into space, carrying thousands of lives toward an uncertain future. And inside, one human prisoner was already thinking about things that no one else could see. The work was hard, but Danny did not complain. Every day, the Velthari guards came to the holding cell and took the humans to the lower decks. They worked on machines that the aliens considered dirty or dangerous. They crawled into tight spaces. They fixed things with their bare hands while the Velthari watched. Danny learned quickly. The machines were different from human technology, but the basic ideas were the same. Pipes carried fluids. Wires carried power. Filters cleaned the air. Once he understood the logic, the work became easier. Kira worked beside him most days. She was stronger than she looked, and smarter too. She had been a nurse on the cargo ship, but she learned the mechanical work fast. They did not talk much while working. The guards did not like it when the humans talked, but at night, in their cell, they shared what they had learned. "The Velthari have 3 different ranks," Kira said one evening. "Soldiers, workers, and elders. The soldiers give orders. The workers do everything else. The elders just watch and judge." Danny nodded. "I noticed that too, but there's no trust between them. The soldiers are scared of the elders. The workers are scared of everyone. Fear runs everything here. It's sad," Kira said softly. "They have all this technology, all this power, but they don't have anything real. No love, no friendship, nothing." Danny thought about her words as he tried to sleep that night. She was right. The Velthari had conquered dozens of worlds, but they had not conquered the emptiness inside themselves. Days turned into weeks. Danny kept watching. He kept learning. The air problem was getting worse. He could feel it now. The oxygen was thinner. When he worked hard, he got dizzy faster. The Velthari did not seem to notice. Their bodies were different. They needed less oxygen than humans did. But eventually, even they would feel it. And by then, it might be too late. One afternoon, something unexpected happened. Danny was working alone in a small maintenance tunnel when he heard a sound behind him. He turned and saw a Velthary child standing there, watching him with those big black eyes. The child was small, maybe the size of a human 8-year-old. Its gray skin was softer than the adults, and it moved with a curious energy that the older Velthary lacked. Danny froze. He was not supposed to interact with Velthary civilians. The rules were clear. Humans were workers, nothing more. But the child did not seem to care about rules. It stepped closer and made a sound that might have been a question. "Hello," Danny said carefully. "Are you lost?" The child tilted its head. It did not understand his words, but it seemed interested in his voice. It stepped even closer. Danny slowly reached into his pocket. He had saved a small piece of food from his morning ration. It was not much, just a dry piece of bread. But he held it out to the child like an offering. The child stared at the bread. Then it looked at Danny's face. Then back at the bread. Slowly, carefully, it reached out and took the food. For a long moment, nothing happened. The child just stood there, holding the bread like it did not know what to do with it. Then a Velthary adult appeared at the end of the tunnel. It was an older one, with deep lines on its gray face. An elder. It saw the child, saw Danny, and saw the bread. Danny expected anger. He expected punishment. But the elder just stood there, watching with those dark eyes. "Siva," the elder said. "Come." The child, Siva, looked at Danny one more time. Then it walked to the elder and took its hand. They disappeared down the tunnel, leaving Danny alone. That night, Danny told Kira what had happened. "You gave food to a Velthary child?" she said. "Are you crazy? They could kill you for that." "I know," Danny said, "but I couldn't help it." The kid was curious, innocent. It reminded me that they're not all soldiers. Some of them are just people. Kira shook her head. "They're still our captors. Don't forget that." Danny did not argue, but he could not forget the way the child had looked at him. There had been no hate in those black eyes. No fear, just curiosity. Maybe there was hope for these aliens after all. The next day, the elder came to watch Danny work. It stood in the shadows, saying nothing, just observing. Danny pretended not to notice, but he could feel those eyes on him the whole time. When the work was done, the elder finally spoke. "Why did you give food to the child?" Danny thought carefully before answering. "Because she was curious, and because kindness cost nothing." The elder was silent for a long moment. "Kindness," it repeated, like the word was strange to it. "This is a human concept?" "It is a choice," Danny said. "Anyone can make it." The elder studied him with those ancient eyes. Then it turned and walked away without another word. That night, Danny checked the air readings on a nearby panel. The oxygen levels had dropped again. They were approaching dangerous levels now. In a few more days, even the Velthary would start feeling the effects. He had a choice to make. He could stay silent and let his captors suffer. It would be justice, in a way. They had taken his freedom. They had taken his friends. They deserved whatever happened to them. But then he thought about Siva. He thought about all the children on the ship. All the families. All the innocent ones who had never hurt anyone. Could he really let them die? Danny stared at the numbers on the panel and felt the weight of his decision pressing down on him. Tomorrow, he would have to choose. Revenge or mercy. Hate or hope. He already knew which one he would pick. He just was not ready to admit it yet. Danny found Commander Thrall on the main deck. The alien officer was standing at a large window, watching the stars pass by. His hands were clasped behind his back, and his posture was stiff and proud. Danny approached carefully. Two guards moved to stop him, but Thrall raised one hand. "Let the human speak," Thrall said. "I am curious what could be so important." Danny stood before the commander. His heart was beating fast, but he kept his voice steady. "There is a problem with your ship. A serious problem. If you don't fix it soon, everyone on board will die." Thrall turned slowly. His black eyes studied Danny like he was looking at a strange insect. "Explain." "Your life support system has a leak," Danny said. "The oxygen levels are dropping. Right now, it is slow. You probably don't feel it yet. But in a few days, maybe a week, the air will be too thin to breathe. Your people will start getting sick. Then they will die." Thrall was silent for a moment. Then he made that cold laughing sound again. "You expect me to believe this? A human prisoner suddenly cares about Velthari lives?" "I don't expect you to believe me," Danny said. "I expect you to check. Look at your own readings. The numbers don't lie." Thrall stared at him. Then he turned to one of his officers. "Check the life support readings." The officer moved to a nearby panel and pressed several buttons. His face changed. Something like worry appeared in his dark eyes. "Commander," the officer said, "the human is correct. Oxygen levels have dropped 12% in the last 3 days. The rate is increasing." Thrall's expression did not change, but Danny could see his body become tighter. He was angry. He turned back to Danny. "Why would you tell us this? If what you say is true, you could have stayed silent. You could have let us die. You would be free." Danny met his eyes. "Because there are children on this ship. Families. People who never did anything to me. I can't let innocent people die, even if they belong to the same race as my captors." Thrall seemed confused by this answer. He looked at Danny like he was trying to solve a puzzle. "This is foolish. We are your enemies. We took everything from you." "Yes," Danny said. "You did. But I am not like you. I don't repay cruelty with cruelty. That's not how humans are." Thrall was silent for a long moment. Then he waved his hand. "Take him back to the holding cell. I will consider his words." The guards grabbed Danny and led him away. As he left the main deck, he heard Thrall giving orders to his engineers. At least they would look into the problem now. At least he had tried. Back in the cell, Kira was waiting. Her face was pale. "What did you do?" she asked. "I told them about the air leak," Danny said. Kira stared at him like he had gone crazy. "Why? Why would you help them?" "They kidnapped us. They're going to work us to death in some mining colony." "And you want to save them?" Danny sat down on the cold floor. "There are thousands of people on this ship. Most of them have never even spoken to us. They're just living their lives, trying to get to their new home. The children especially. They didn't choose to be born Velthari. They didn't choose any of this. But they don't care about us," Kira said. "You saw how they treat us. Like animals. Like tools." "That's true," Danny said. "But if I let them die when I could have saved them, what does that make me? How am I any different from them?" Kira opened her mouth to argue, then closed it again. She turned away and said nothing. Danny understood her anger. Part of him felt the same way, but a larger part of him knew that he had made the right choice. If being human meant anything, it meant choosing kindness even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. 2 days passed. The Velthari engineers searched the ship, but they found nothing. Commander Thrall sent for Danny again. "Your warning was a trick," Thrall said. His voice was colder than before. "My engineers found no leak. You tried to create confusion among my crew. This will be punished." Danny shook his head. "I'm not lying. The leak is real. Your engineers are looking in the wrong places. Let me show them where to search." Thrall's face twisted with anger. "You think I would let a human prisoner give orders to Velthari engineers? You insult me. Then don't think of it as orders," Danny said. "Think of it as advice. If I'm wrong, you can punish me however you want. But if I'm right, you'll save your people. Thrall was about to refuse when a voice came from behind him. Let him try. Everyone turned. The elder from before was standing in the doorway. The one Danny had seen was Siva. In the light, Danny could see that the elder was very old, with skin like ancient stone. Voran, Thrall said. This is not your concern. Everything on this ship is my concern, the elder said. His voice was calm but firm. I have been watching this human. He is strange, but he is not a liar. Let him prove his words. Thrall looked furious, but he did not argue with the elder. In Velthari society, elders had power that even commanders had to respect. Fine, Thrall said through clenched teeth. But if this is another trick, the human dies. Danny nodded. Fair enough. But before anyone could move, an alarm began to sound. Across the main deck, officers started reporting problems. Systems were failing. Lights were flickering, and in the corner of the room, Commander Thrall suddenly grabbed his head and fell to his knees. Other Velthari were doing the same. Their movements became slow and confused. Their breathing became heavy. The oxygen had dropped below the critical level. The effects were starting. Thrall tried to stand, but his legs would not hold him. He collapsed onto the floor, unconscious. Other officers fell beside him. In seconds, the main deck was filled with bodies. Elder Varan leaned against the wall, fighting to stay awake. His ancient eyes found Danny. Help us, he whispered. Please. Danny did not hesitate. He was already moving toward the engineering panels. There was no time to waste. If he did not find a leak soon, everyone on this ship would die, including himself. The ship was dying, and Danny was the only one who could save it. All around him, Velthari were falling. On the main deck, in the hallways, in their homes. The oxygen was too low now. Their bodies were shutting down. They had minutes, maybe less, before permanent damage began. Danny ran to the engineering station. His own head was spinning. The air was thin for him too, and his lungs burned with every breath. But humans were different. They came from a world where the air was sometimes thin, where the weather was sometimes cruel. Their bodies knew how to survive when things got hard. He studied the control panel. The symbols were alien, but he had spent weeks learning them. He understood enough to read the basic systems. Life support. Power distribution. Atmospheric control. There, he found the oxygen readings. The levels were critical, and the main filtration system was showing an error. But the error was not in the system itself. It was somewhere deeper, somewhere the automatic sensors could not reach. Danny grabbed the toolkit and ran toward the lower decks. His feet pounded against the metal floor. He passed Velthari, who had collapsed in the hallways. Some were still breathing. Some were not moving at all. He found Kira near their holding cell. She was on her knees, gasping for air. Danny, she whispered. What's happening? The air is failing, he said. He grabbed her arm and helped her stand. I need your help. Can you walk? She nodded weakly. I think so. Good. Come with me. They moved through the ship together. Danny led the way, checking each section for Velthari, who were still conscious. He found a few workers hiding in a storage room. Their eyes were wide with fear. Follow me, Danny said. I need help. The workers looked at each other. A human was giving them orders. This had never happened before. But the alternative was death, so they followed. They reached the main life support chamber. It was a massive room filled with machines that cleaned and recycled the ship's air. Danny could hear something wrong. A hissing sound. Air escaping. There, he said, pointing to a section of pipes in the corner. The leak is behind those panels. He did not wait for help. He grabbed his tools and started removing the panels himself. The metal was heavy, but desperation gave him strength. One by one, the panels came off, revealing the systems underneath, and then he saw it. A crack in the main oxygen line. It was small, barely visible, hidden behind layers of other equipment. The automatic sensors had not detected it because it was in a blind spot. But every second, precious air was escaping into space. "I need something to seal this," Danny said. "A patch, a welding tool, anything." One of the Velthory workers handed him a sealing device. Danny took it and crawled into the tight space. The air was even thinner here. His vision was starting to blur. His hands were shaking, but he kept working. He positioned the sealing device over the crack. He activated it. The tool hummed, and hot material flowed over the damaged pipe. Slowly, the hissing sound stopped. Danny crawled out and checked the readings. The leak was sealed, but the oxygen levels were still critical. The ship needed time to recover, and many of the Velthory did not have time. "We need to activate the emergency oxygen reserves," Danny said. "Where are they?" The workers stared at him. They did not know. They had never needed to know. The ship had always worked perfectly. Until now, Danny cursed under his breath. He ran back to the main control room, his lungs screaming for air. He found Aldebaran on the floor, barely conscious. The old Velthory's breathing was weak and shallow. "Voron," Danny said, kneeling beside him. "Where are the emergency reserves?" "I sealed the leak, but we need more oxygen now." Voron's eyes flickered open. He raised one trembling hand and pointed to a panel on the far wall. Danny ran to it and found the controls for the emergency system. He activated it without hesitation. There was a loud hiss, and fresh air began flooding into the ship. Danny took a deep breath and felt life returning to his body. Around him, the fallen Velthory started to stir. But the work was not done. Danny moved through the ship, checking on everyone he could find. He gave water to those who were awake. He positioned unconscious ones so they could breathe better. He worked without stopping, without thinking about himself. Kira found him in one of the residential sections. He was helping a Velthory mother who was holding a small child. The child was Siva, the curious one from before. She was not moving. "Is she alive?" Kira asked. Danny checked the child's breathing. It was there, but weak. Barely. "She needs medical help." "Do you know anything about Velthory medicine?" Kira shook her head. "No, but I know about keeping people alive. That's what nurses do." Together, they worked on the child. They kept her warm. They made sure she was breathing. They talked to her mother, using simple words and gestures that needed no translation. The mother's dark eyes were full of fear, but also something else. Something like gratitude. Hours passed. Slowly, the ship returned to normal. The oxygen levels stabilized. The Velthory began to wake up. They looked around in confusion, trying to understand what had happened. Aldebaran found Danny sitting against a wall, exhausted. The human's face was pale, and his hands were still shaking. "You saved us," Voron said. "All of us." Danny looked up at him. "Is Siva okay?" Voron nodded. "She will recover. Because of you." "Good," Danny said. Then his eyes closed, and he fell unconscious. The last thing he heard was Voron's voice, calling for help. For once, the Velthory were rushing to save a human. Danny woke up in a bed. A real bed, not the cold floor of a prison cell. The sheets were soft against his skin, and the air was clean and fresh. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then the memories came back. The alarm, the falling Velthory, the leak, the desperate race to save the ship. He tried to sit up, but his body screamed in protest. Every muscle ached. His lungs felt like they had been filled with sand. "Easy," a voice said. "You need to rest." Danny turned his head. Kira was sitting beside him in a chair. Her face looked tired, but she was smiling. "Where am I?" Danny asked. "The medical bay," Kira said. "The Valkyrie brought you here after you collapsed. You've been unconscious for 2 days." 2 days. Danny let that sink in. The last thing he remembered was Varan's voice calling for help. After that, nothing. "Is everyone okay?" he asked. Kira nodded. Most of them survived. A few of the older ones didn't make it, but the ship's doctors say it would have been much worse without you. Thousands would have died. Danny closed his eyes. He felt relief, but also sadness. People had still died. He wished he could have done more. The door to the medical bay opened, and Commander Thrall walked in. He looked different than before. His posture was still proud, but there was something new in his eyes. Something Danny had never seen there before. The commander stopped at the foot of Danny's bed. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he spoke in a voice that was quieter than usual. "I was wrong about you." Danny waited. He did not know what to say. "When you first warned me about the leak," Thrall continued, "I thought you were lying. I thought you were trying to trick me, to create chaos so you could escape. I believed you were like every other species we have conquered. Selfish, weak, concerned only with your own survival." He paused and looked at the floor. "But you were not lying. You saw the danger before any of my engineers. And when the crisis came, you did not run. You did not hide. You saved us. You saved my people, even though we had treated you as property." Thrall raised his head and met Danny's eyes. "I do not understand this. It goes against everything I know about the universe. Why would you help those who had taken everything from you?" Danny thought about his answer. He remembered all the pain and fear he had felt since his capture. He remembered the anger and the hopelessness. But he also remembered Siva's curious eyes. He remembered the mother holding her child. He remembered that even among enemies, there were innocent ones. "Because being human is not just about surviving," Danny said. "It's about choosing what kind of person you want to be. I could have let you die. I would have been free. But then I would have to live with that choice forever. And I didn't want to be the person who could watch children die and do nothing." Thrall stared at him. "This kindness, it is a weakness. Other species would use it against you." "Maybe," Danny said. "But it's also our greatest strength. It's how we build trust. It's how we make friends out of enemies. It's how we survive not just as individuals, but as a people." The door opened again, and Elder Voran entered. He was moving slowly, still recovering from the oxygen deprivation, but his eyes were bright and clear. "I have spoken with the council," Voran said. "We have made a decision about the humans." Danny felt his heart beat faster. This was the moment. After everything that had happened, the Valkyrie were finally going to decide their fate. Voran looked at Thrall, then at Danny. "You will be released. Both of you, and all the other humans taken from your ship. We will give you a vessel to return to your own space." Danny could not believe what he was hearing. "You're letting us go?" "We are doing more than that," Voran said. "I have sent a report to the Valkyrie High Council. I told them what happened here. I told them what you did, and why. I recommended that our empire reconsider its position on humanity." He moved closer to the bed and placed one gray hand on Danny's shoulder. "For generations, we have conquered and enslaved because we believed strength was the only thing that mattered. But you have shown us something different. You have shown us that there are other kinds of strength, ones we never understood." Danny felt tears forming in his eyes, but he blinked them away. "I just did what any human would do." "No," Voran said. "You did what all beings should do. But few have the courage." The days that followed were strange. The Valkyrie treated Danny and Kira with respect, sometimes even with kindness. They gave them new clothes. They fed them real food. They answered their questions about the ship and its people. Siva came to visit Danny before he left. She was fully recovered now, full of energy and curiosity. She did not speak his language, and he did not speak hers, but somehow they communicated anyway. She gave him a small object, a piece of polished stone that Velthari children carried as a good luck charm. She wants you to have it, Varan translated. It is a gift we only give to family. Danny held the stone in his hand. It was warm from Siva's grip. He looked at the child and smiled. Tell her thank you, he said. Tell her I will never forget her. On the day of departure, the entire ship gathered to watch the humans leave. Commander Thrall was there, standing at attention like a soldier. But when Danny walked past him, the commander did something unexpected. He bowed his head in respect. Danny stopped. Take care of your people, Commander. I will, Thrall said. And I will tell them about you, about what humans are capable of. Not your weapons or your ships. Something more important. What's that? Danny asked. Your heart, Thrall said. The small ship lifted off from the Velthari vessel and turned toward human space. Danny sat by the window and watched the massive colony ship grow smaller in the distance. Somewhere on that ship, Siva was probably watching too. Kira sat down beside him. What do you think will happen now? Danny thought about it. I think things will change. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. Those aliens will tell others what they saw. The story will spread. And maybe, just maybe, the galaxy will learn that humans are not just survivors. We're something more. He touched the stone in his pocket, feeling its warmth. Behind them, the Velthari communications officer was sending a message across their empire's network. It was a simple message, but it would echo through history. Beware the humans, the message said. Not because of their weapons, not because of their strength. Beware them because of their kindness. It is more powerful than anything we have ever faced. And we do not know how to fight it. Danny did not know about the message. He did not need to. He was already looking forward, toward home, toward the people he loved, toward the future that was waiting for him. He had gone into the darkness as a prisoner. He was coming out as something else, something the Velthari had no word for. He was coming out as proof that humanity's greatest power was not in its fists, but in its heart.